Greetings, everyone, and welcome to our new segment called Made in Japan, where we discuss everything about Japanese culture, which includes anime, collectibles, mangas, and whatever you want that comes from the rising sun. With me is my co host, Ryan Epps. How are you, Ryan?
I'm good. I'm good. Actually, you know, I speaking of manga, I've been reading
You got
this.
something new?
Levius. I've
Yeah,
been
you were
reading
suggesting
Levius,
that to me.
and I'm only on chapter 3, but the art's really interesting. It's like pencil kind of. It likes pencily. It reminds me a lot of Blam, actually. Very pencily and very like, brush, I guess. It's an interesting art style, and it's
And
weird
and it's
story.
really
I highly recommend
it's
it. It's
really
fucking
thick.
long, but it's
Really
yeah.
thick. Like it's
No, but I
War
mean
and
it's
Peace
manga,
thick.
so you'll get through it pretty quick, I feel like. But yeah. I mean, look at this back art. Probably can't see it as well, but it just looks so sleek and sick. Like I was like reading it the other day and I put it down and looked at the back and was like, man, this is gonna be sick. This story's I
You
don't
know
know,
what it looks like?
I'm hyped on reading
Yeah,
that
what it
anyway.
looks like to me is actually, if you didn't tell me, is actually a book. I feel like it's one of those expensive boxes for statues for collectibles.
Yeah,
Like the art
yeah,
style feels that way.
yeah, yeah, I could see that. It's it's good. It's good. Like I said, I'm only on chapter 3, so I don't really know where the story's gonna go yet or anything, but it's interesting. It's different. Different.
Okay,
Some science fiction thingy.
I'm
But
gonna have
yeah.
to pick that up based on your suggestion because even on my shelf it would look sick. Just
That's what I'm
staying there
saying.
collecting
There's
dust.
actually even more. There's more. So there's Levius dot est, something like that. Some weird name. I don't know. But
How
there's
many
more. There's
chapters?
10
How
more
many chapters
volumes
are
that go
there
after
in
this.
that one book? How many chapters are there in that one book?
There's a table of contents. 18.
18. And how many books are available?
Well, is this the omnibus? This is the
Oh,
omnibus. So this is all just like the, I guess, first part or something. I don't really know how to explain it. But there's more involving, I don't know. There's more after, I guess. Levius Est, it's called.
yeah.
Or I guess it takes place after. I'm not sure. It could be a prequel. I haven't really, all I did was just pick this up and read it. But there's 10 more volumes. I guess after. I guess it's a sequel, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. Everyone, based on Ryan's suggestion, what is it called? Levius.
Levius, yeah, it's
Yeah,
very interesting. It's
check it
about
out.
essentially the story revolves around like MMA, it's called, which is mechanized martial arts. I think that's what it's called, mechanized martial arts, and people essentially like how do I explain this? Like they give themselves robot arms, or they
Prosthesis.
essentially like
They
up.
use
It's like kind of
prosthetics.
think of this like steampunk meets cyberpunk in a way, but based in the 1800s. It's so
Isn't that?
crazy. It's so weird.
It kind of feels like Battle Angel Alita, right?
Kinda, but not
Not
it leans
completely.
more into the steampunk, not cyberpunk. Where Battle Angel's more cyberpunk. This is, I feel, a lot more steampunk because it's very much like 1800s and old timey. Like they have old timey cars, but people have augmentations. So, like I said, it's original. It's very original. Like I couldn't even really I couldn't even like, I don't know. I can't find another show or manga that's like it, really.
No, it
Like
sounds
I can't.
awesome.
Like I'm trying to think of like how to describe it, but that's all I got. It's like cyberpunk meets steampunk, and it's like this kid is just a prodigy essentially when it comes to mechanized martial arts. But there's a whole mystery behind his mother. Why did his dad die? This type of stuff.
Well, you
Read it.
mentioned to
Read it.
me MMA with robots, or like I also automatically my brain goes to Real Steel because of it. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
Real Steel, but I feel Real Steel was like you controlled robots, right? Like
Yeah,
you, right? Kind of Real Steel, but not like you, like people die. Like they call it there's a name for it, like the final cage, I think they call it the final cage, because you're gonna die. Like if you go into this ring as like an augmented MMA fighter guy, you're going to die.
It's just
It's just
Mortal
so
Kombat, right?
it's fucked. It's fucked. It's fucked. And the art is really cool. It's like pencil. It's like pencil. It looks sleek. I don't know. Highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. It's really good.
Yeah, speaking of highly recommended, majority of I think when we discuss anime, for those of us that are actually like when we're with Chris, like he's usually not that into anime, but we do
He's
recommend
checked
things
out.
to
He's
him.
checked out.
He's checked
Yeah.
out. We did recommend to him the Ghibli stuff, so I figured
Well, it
for
surprised me that
today's,
he even watched One Piece to begin with. Genuinely, it
yeah,
genuinely
it did,
surprised me that he picked it. He picked it as like something to watch, and
and it's a
how much
huge
of that is the
franchise,
fact
right?
that it's like this big new show as opposed to it's One Piece. You know,
It's One Piece. It's a huge franchise, and the world is so big, and the lore is really expanded. Like for that to be your first introduction to anime would be, I figured, would be
and it's very
overwhelming.
different, right? Like narratively, the narrative setup for the show is very different from the manga or the TV show, the original anime, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why we usually recommend the Ghibli stuff. And speaking of Ghibli, our main topic for today is we're gonna be ranking our top five Studio Ghibli films. Like it doesn't matter if Miyazaki is involved. Our top five uh Ghibli movies. Like we're gonna do
No,
something for Miyazaki in the
it
long
does
run.
because
So
it does matter because that's all I picked.
don't
That's
reveal
all
it
I
yet.
picked. I haven't seen a single movie without Miyazaki at the helm, and I don't know if that says a lot about his craft or just you know, my
Yeah,
taste. I don't know. I don't know
Miyazaki's the
what.
goat. I think everyone feels that they are, and like every animator feels it in some way. They're
It's
actually influenced
crazy
by
that
Miyazaki.
it's crazy how many times he's I don't want to say given up, but he's retired. How many times he's like said, "Okay, I'm done," and then come back to the fold, and now after the obviously, okay, if you guys didn't know, The Boy and the Heron is his latest movie just came
Yeah,
out. I think what 2 months ago, and
yeah.
like pretty much I don't know a day or two after it came out, he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm not done by the way."
You know why he
Like,
keeps?
this
You know
is
why
your
he
final
keeps coming
movie.
out
They
of?
were like hyping it up as his final movie, and it's like, oh yeah, you know what? I think I'm gonna make another one. It's like, bro,
Yeah,
what?
you know why he keeps coming out of retirement? He keeps seeing these isekai animes coming out every month.
He's over it. He's over.
like
He's over Sword Art Online. He can't handle it.
like he feels that he needs to correct things. Like today we're gonna be listing our top five again, our top five Studio Ghibli films. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna be starting with mine. And
Are we
number
doing?
five for
Wait.
me.
Are you gonna go one and then me? One and then me. All right.
Yeah,
Is
my
that how we're doing?
five
Or just
first. Let's just go
okay.
five. Then our last one would be our number one. But if we
Okay.
have an overlap, like
Yeah. Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
say yours, my number five is in your list, but in a different number, you could actually reveal it so we could just discuss it. Basically, that
Okay.
would just be the mechanics. So my
Okay.
number five on my list
Oh wait,
is
and before we, I'm sorry. I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
Sorry. Are we doing any honorable mentions too after?
Yeah, we could if you
Okay.
want.
I
Okay.
didn't list them, but yeah. Go ahead.
So my number five is actually Ponyo.
Ponyo. I actually haven't seen Ponyo. It's on my list. It's on my list. I really want to see it. I didn't know that was a Ghibli movie. Or I'm sorry, I didn't know that was a Miyazaki movie.
Yeah, it actually surprised me, but it because it felt like a different style from him. Usually, in
So
terms of Miyazaki, there are different beats regarding his animation that I feel that you can see in different
yeah,
movies, like the way transformations are handled. Because I feel like the transformation in his movies feel like body horror. Like things just
in
keep
Ponyo.
bubbling up when transforming.
What? See, I was gonna ask, is Ponyo like from and again, don't judge a book, don't but judge a movie by its
Yeah,
poster, whatever. But whenever I see Ponyo, I automatically think of like Finding Nemo. It's like I for some reason I just associate Ponyo with like a children's movie.
Like
And
I
is
can't
that like
blame you. Like I
is
can't
it
actually blame you.
is it
It's
tailored for that though?
it's it's
Like is
tailored
it a
for
kids movie?
kids when it comes to the visuals. Like basically, he's just a goldfish. She's a goldfish, by the
Yeah.
way. And the tale of Ponyo, I'll try not to spoil it that much. It's basically just the Little Mermaid, in short.
Before the
But
when
with
did the mer I
much,
guess Mermaid came out in like the 90s.
Ponyo actually wants to be a human. She prefers her name to just be called Ponyo rather
Okay.
than her real name.
Yeah.
So Ponyo for me at number five is actually I judge it based on the impact it has on my kids because this is the first movie that my oldest actually watched
Yeah.
without any subtitles. She was I think 4 years old by the way, without any subtitles, straight Japanese, and she is still entertained by it just based on the visuals alone. That's why it's my number five. Like it transcended language when my kid actually watched it.
Did you watch in English or
Yeah,
Japanese
I
or
watched it
okay.
in English. I watched it in Japanese. So,
Gotcha. Cool.
so yeah, that's my number five.
Okay. Your least
So
favorite. Or maybe not least favorite, but
it's in my top five. Like there's a bunch of Miyazaki, Studio Ghibli films, like just
yeah,
being in the
yeah. I
top
mean,
five alone.
Earth Asia, who's gonna have that? Is there, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
which is funny because, all right, I'm sorry, that is a Miyazaki film, but Goro
yeah, it is.
Miyazaki. It's a different person.
And I can't blame you. Just at first glance, the art style is actually pretty different from what he usually does,
Yeah,
right?
well, because it's so old. For Ponyo, you mean? For Ponyo or
Yeah, but
Earth
there are
Asia?
some Miyazaki films that are actually older than this that actually
Oh, I know,
still continue
Nausicaa.
the art style, right?
Yeah.
So that's my number five. Okay, your turn, Ryan.
So we are. Oh, okay, we're jumping. I'm gonna have to like look this up because it's been a while since I've seen it to give like a rundown on like what it's about. My God. All right. My fifth movie is The Wind Rises. Is that on your list?
Ooh. No, it's not.
Essentially, it's
I
about
forgot
a
that one.
budding aviator. Like he wants to make planes, and he like essentially there's this guy that he looks up to. Yeah, I mean, it's it's actually based on somewhat of a true story, right? I think so. I think it's
Yeah,
based on somewhat of a true story. Yeah, I mean, and it kind of
is
deals a
is
bit
this
with the
the
war too.
is this the pilot with the eye problem?
Eye problem,
Like
maybe.
nearsightedness, near farsightedness or nearsightedness?
I don't remember that being a plot. Um, I
Go ahead.
genuinely don't. I don't know. Maybe I don't remember. Uh, but I just remember the art being sick and like there's the story itself, how they weaved the relationship into it, how the war was, a big factor, and like how he didn't want to create um he didn't want his creations to be products of war, right? Or didn't want
Yeah,
them to exacerbate the war in a sense. He just wanted to build, he just wanted to make shit. And that, it just like most Miyazaki movies, it speaks to his craft in a way. Like he doesn't want his work to be used in the wrong way, or he doesn't want his work to be misconstrued in the wrong way. Um, and it also speaks to how adversity, how like even being in this war can, in a way, make your creations, your person better over time. I love
yeah.
Wind Rises. So it's an interesting story. It has like
Forgot
really
about that one.
profound and it's fucked up too. Like the end is pretty sad. Most are, but pretty sad. Yeah.
You know, we're talking about these Miyazaki tropes. Like, should we do a Miyazaki bingo regarding
Why? That'd be
like
interesting. That'd be fun.
do a watch along for a Miyazaki film and do Miyazaki bingo like uh done during a war. There's plane involved, body transformation. Like I think we could do a
Could
bingo
see
with
that.
Miyazaki tropes, right?
Yeah,
So that's your number five.
that's five. That's five. Yeah, clearly because I don't remember much of it, but I do still like he has these awesome dream sequences in it where he's like flying with the creator that he looks up to, a French designer. And those scenes are awesome. Those dream sequences. Yeah, it's just so Miyazaki too. Like I don't know. Those are my favorite. I love that. I love that movie a lot. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so my number four. Yeah. My number four is actually Princess Mononoke.
Oh wow, mine too.
We have the same.
Yeah,
Good.
four. Princess Mononoke. You know, it's funny too because I put that at four, and I was like, damn. You know, the audience, the at least those that like Ghibli, they're gonna be pissed because this
I
is
think
like,
a
isn't it?
majority
It's
of
like I feel like it's on at least this and Spirited Away are like top for people for
in
most
terms
people. I
of
feel like.
the Ghibli film, I think I won't be surprised if a lot of people this is their first uh
Yeah,
dive into a
I think it
Ghibli
was my
movie.
first. It might have been my first one. I might. I'm not 100% sure. I don't remember, but yeah, it's
Because at first glance,
fantastic.
if you don't know what Ghibli is or who Miyazaki is, you wouldn't think this is their product because this is more action oriented than the rest of what they've done.
And fantastical to a degree, right?
Yeah,
Whereas like other Miyazaki movies aren't as they don't have that fantasy aspect to it. Not
and
not
the
not
plot
in like the
is
traditional sense. Not in
if
like
it
it's a fantastical setting. Like yeah,
and the plot I think is much more straightforward than the rest of what they've done before. Like this is a straight up
yeah,
action film,
yeah,
which
yeah.
Miyazaki rarely does. So
And
this
one thing
is
that makes it stand out is the voice acting. You know, you could say that about most of these movies, but I think for Princess Mononoke, it has some of the best voice acting across the board. Like when it just not just in Ghibli, but like across the board. It's so good. Like I don't know, man. When it's just so good.
voice acting for the Japanese or the English.
No, English.
Yeah, it's funny thing you said that. I
And it
haven't
has a
watched Princess
stacked
Mononoke.
cast
Okay, I might get speared by people regarding this, but I haven't watched Princess Mononoke Japanese
in
dub,
English.
only
I
in
don't blame
English.
you. I mean, so let's see. Princess Mononoke. Where's who was the
He's a voice
here?
actor for the English dub. Okay,
Billy
now I
Bob
understand
Thornton.
what
Billy Bob Thornton is the one I couldn't
Billy
think of his
Crudup,
name for some reason.
Billy Crudup,
Billy Bob Thornton. But yeah, Crudup. Yeah.
and
There's a
Claire
ton of
Danes.
different.
Okay, now I understand why I love the voice. It was
Yeah.
Claire Danes who actually voiced, and Tara Strong.
I'm saying like you know,
Yeah, these are good voice actors.
and but that's the thing.
Really.
Most Ghibli movies they get pretty good, actors. They get actors, not just voice actors, but like Billy Bob Thornton. Like how do you approach Billy Bob Thornton and go, you know what? We want you to play a pig, a giant pig. you
Yeah,
approach
one thing.
you approach
Yeah, regarding
Billy
the Princess
like yeah,
Mononoke
sure.
stuff, like in terms of visuals, I think this is the most graphic
Oh,
in
for
terms of
sure.
visuals that
Yeah.
Ghibli has produced. It's not for
Well, it
kids
goes
to
to
actually
what you're
view.
saying with the action.
Yeah, this isn't something for kids. That's why, at first glance, if you watched it, like just glance at it in your screen, you wouldn't think that it's a Ghibli produced film,
Yeah.
just because the elements is so fantastical at the same time so mature.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
So
I mean,
that's
I don't doubt that it's Princess Mononoke finds itself on most people's top five Ghibli movies, if not at the top, right? Like that's why I was saying, like, I feel like a lot of people are gonna be pissed because four, like, come on, four. But I listen, like,
there's a lot more that they've
yeah,
done.
and it also comes down to just how the movie makes you feel,
Yeah.
and I don't know. It's not that Mononoke is a bad movie. It's amazing.
So we both mentioned our top four. Now your turn for your top three.
My third. My third is Castles in the Sky. Is that on your
Ooh, that's
list?
a good one. No, it's not.
Castles in the Sky essentially involves a young girl who has a secret. I don't want to go too much into it, but essentially a boy finds and helps a young girl after she's found like falling through the sky. And this whole mystery unfolds around this girl and how the guy, this kid, young boy,
Yeah.
does all that he can to protect her and keep her safe from these I guess just bad individuals that want to get to the castle in the sky, literally.
Is there a
Have you you've seen it, right?
I haven't watched
Oh
Castle in the
man.
Sky, but I've
Castle in
heard
the
that it's
Sky is
actually
another one.
really good.
Actually, I would say not as much as Princess Mononoke, but it has a very fantastical setting too. And funny enough, there's a lot of elements from both Princess Mononoke and Castle in the Sky that you could find in like Elden Ring or even just other From Software games. You know, like the horse you ride in Elden Ring is definitely the yak from Princess Mononoke. There's also elements like there's like pieces of a fallen city that you can find in Elden Ring that are clear references somewhat to Castle in the Sky. Um, so yeah, that's another reason why I love it because you can find these movies, elements of these movies, and other pop culture stuff. And
Is the
Castle in the Sky
government
is just
involved in this
so
one?
good.
Like we're gonna be
What do you mean?
playing Miyazaki bingo here. Like, is the government actually involved?
What do you mean?
Are there political undertones in the film? Or so?
Maybe I don't not no, I don't maybe, but I don't think so. I mean, you could reach and try to find some, I'm sure, but it's not necessarily about a government or any. There's nothing
It's
about, there's more
it's a
about
straight up love
private,
story.
huh?
Is it a love story? Like a straight up love story?
No, no. I mean, kind of, but not really. Like there is a love triangle, or maybe not a triangle, but a love narrative to it. There's a bit of that, but more so it's about this young girl finding her place in reality. Like what is she and why is she so powerful? In the history behind this castle that was once floating in the sky.
I'm gonna have to put that in my to watch list later after
Oh, it's
this.
so good. Especially with there's these robots that come to life and try to help her.
Like I'm looking at
Oh my god,
images of
so
it,
good.
and I feel like we did mention regarding the Ponyo stuff that the Ponyo artwork is so different from what they've done before, and I
Yeah.
think this one is actually much older than Ponyo.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And the art is another thing that makes Cast in the Sky so good. The art is so good in Cast in the Sky. See, I wouldn't say the characters are very well developed or anything, right? It's not a For most of these movies, I feel like you could kind of get to know the characters a bit well. Whereas
yeah,
Cast in the Sky, it's again more about the overarching narrative and like what is this castle and what is her place in this world, It's
yeah.
crazy. Like she's
Speak.
supposed to be royalty and like everyone treats her like shit, kind of. Not maybe not shit, but
So
yeah.
he, so
People
she's
just want to
Meghan
use her
Markle, right?
power.
She's
What?
basically Meghan Markle.
I don't know who's that. I don't even know who that is.
Meghan Markle,
No, I don't know who that is. Who
Prince
is that?
Harry, Prince Harry's wife, basically royalty, but they were going through so
Oh,
much.
yeah, from Cali, right? The girl from Cali.
Yeah,
She's an actress.
yeah.
Oh yeah. See, I know what you're talking about, but I didn't know what was she even in?
Suits.
Okay.
She's actually in a good show. She's actually in a good show, but she's not the best part of it.
Yeah, that's weird.
Well, anyway,
Anyway, wait. Yeah, you're on three, I think.
I'm on three. So my number three, I think my number three would be basically a lot of people's number one. So don't hate me for it.
Spirit Away.
Yeah.
It's
My
actually
number
not on my
three,
list.
Now, number three is actually Spirited Away. If you're gonna be talking about character development, this has it in spades. Like
I
the
mean, even
amount
for
of
the
character,
parents, right? Like even
yeah.
the parents have like an arc kind of to them. I
I
love
think
that
pretty
movie.
much Spirited Away is the introduction of people to the complete art style of Ghibli.
Yeah, yeah. It's either Mononoke or Spirited Away that people first kind of get into Ghibli too. I feel like
Yeah, like this is the first film that I think a lot of people see Ghibli as an art form instead of just
Yeah,
anime when they watch
yeah.
this. Like
And
this,
Spirited Away is probably one of the most like artistic out of all of them, just because of how creative with the monsters,
yeah,
the spirits and stuff. Like it goes crazy. I mean, the part where they turn into pigs, where their parents turn into pigs,
yeah.
it's
like,
sick. That's sick.
like
It's
Miyazaki
just I don't
bingo,
know.
body transformation, check.
Yep. Yeah.
Like in terms of the character development, how many characters does this film have? Like there's a lot.
Yeah.
Like there's a
Like I said,
dragon,
they're all almost
there's the
like
twin
imaginative too.
witches, right?
Yep.
The
Mhm.
baby.
Yep. Yep.
So that's why when we did the I've seen on streaming segment, I mentioned that if there was an anime that I wanted to see in live action, if any director has the balls to actually do it, Spirited Away would be at the top. Like
For
given the
live
budget,
action, God, it would ruin it. It would ruin it for me, at least for me. I wouldn't want to see any of these movies in live action. No, it would
you
just ruin
wouldn't.
it. It would just ruin it.
I would
Unless
just want to
Miyazaki was
see
making
it.
it, unless Miyazaki was making it, right?
If
Or
he was actually involved, like we did have
involved
the one,
somehow.
we have the One Piece one that the writer the signed off on.
Even I'm of the mind, and I'm sure a lot of people are. I'm of the mind that like it's like sacred,
It is sacred,
like
but
don't
nothing
touch
is
it. Don't
sacred. But
don't
nothing
touch
is
it.
sacred when it comes to Hollywood, Ryan. Like, would you rather them do it with Miyazaki gone, or would you rather them do it while Miyazaki has input?
I wouldn't want to see it no matter what. Like you know what I mean? Like I just wouldn't. I wouldn't. I don't know. I would prefer it in the animated form. I feel like that's just the best possible way to look at it, way to see it and experience it.
That's why
Live
I
action would
mentioned.
just kind of tarnish it. It would just feel like a cash grab or feel it just wouldn't feel right. It wouldn't feel right.
But that's why I said which director has the balls to actually do this,
Yeah, exactly.
right? Like we
None of them.
already thrown around the names of Nolan and
Yeah.
Tarantino,
Well, Nolan is known to use like animation as like an influence. Like
right?
Paprika, it's known that Paprika from Satoshi Kon influenced Inception. Like
Yeah.
it wouldn't Inception would not exist without Paprika. It was so and what's there's another one too.
For
There's
me,
another
I
one.
think Hollywood eventually would the well would run dry for them, and they would
Yeah.
look at that other avenues. And Hollywood really is just for the money. And if
Yeah.
they did look this way regarding Studio Ghibli, I would rather Miyazaki be involved if they were gonna go at it rather than him not being there.
For sure. For sure. Yeah.
So that's my number three. Everyone's number one, Spirited Away.
Spirit Away is amazing. It's not even on my list, so I'm sure I'm gonna get flack for that. But Spirit Away is just too I don't know. It just doesn't speak to me as much as the other ones do, at least on my list. But um yeah, it's good. It's still a good one, that's for sure.
Yeah, we go to your number two, right?
Yeah, so my number two. So I already picked, The Wind Rises. It's got planes and stuff. So I'm sorry, I'm feels like I'm like in love with airplanes or something, but Porco Rosso is my
Yeah,
number two.
I kind
Porco
of
Rosso is so good. And again, this is for people who watch the English version, right? Not the Japanese, but Michael Keaton's performance, stellar.
yeah, I was
Stellar. He
surprised you
kills it.
mentioned it. That it
Yeah,
was
he
Michael
kills.
Keaton.
And it's another one where like the music, and just the characters, they all really coalesce to make arguably one of the best movies he's made. And again, that's my opinion. Um, just the way that they shoot. the way that they film certain scenes with the plane flying through the
Yeah.
clouds, right? It's just so cinematic. I don't know. I love Porco Rosso, and I'm sure a lot of
So
people are gonna be like, "What the fuck, Porco Rosso?" People are gonna be like, "Who?" You have Spirited Away. Trust me, like go watch it. Go watch it and come back to the video, and then leave a
it's
comment. Let me
basically
know.
made
Let me know if you liked
in
it.
the spirit of the Red Baron, like the times when
Yeah,
airplanes are having duels. It's a good theme to have.
yeah,
Our
yep.
animation is just the art style
Dogfighting,
is just silly on this one, like having a pig.
another one, another one. It's amazing. It's I don't know, and as usual, I don't know about other Ghibli movies, but um you know, other Japanese animated movies. As per them, the American in Porco Rosso is just a jackass asshole who's like, I'll be running for president, saying dumb shit. It's just like, and he's an actor. It's clearly, I feel like a Ronald Reagan type guy, like, I was an actor. I'm going to be a president eventually. And he's trying to hit on Porco Rosso's girl all the time. And, obviously, if you don't watch the movie, she's kind of waiting for him, but he's still a flyboy. Like, you know what I mean? He can't give it up. Go watch the movie. Porco Rosso is amazing. Porco Rosso is fucking amazing. But yeah, what's your second?
My second is My Neighbor Totoro.
No way. I was gonna put that on my list. I was considering it over Wind Rises. I was considering it. That one's so evergreen, right? Like it's just
Yeah,
you can pop that on a rainy day and feel good, right? And feel like happy.
and it's the first Studio Ghibli film I actually ever watched.
Mm,
So, based on uh what it is, this is basically just a mascot of Studio Ghibli.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
we discussed this
It's
before we
prior to
actually
the
recorded.
podcast how it's like hailed in high regard as like their mascot, but for the
It's
most
easy
part,
to
people
build
don't
a lot of
really
stuffed
talk about
toys
it.
for with this one. Like you
Yeah,
can't
it's
actually see.
Mononoke, Spirited Away. I mean, I'm
It's
Howl's Moving Castle even. Other movies are definitely talked about far more than My Neighbor Totoro, and that's really because nothing happens. And that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing because that's literally the type of movie it is, right? It's slice of life. It's a slice of life. Most of these Ghibli movies are, but I
but
think they,
what's actually
I don't know.
charming to me is actually the mundaneness of the topic here
Yeah,
regarding the theme. Like
yeah,
you're basically just following a family and their everyday life without actually expecting anything off of it. And when you try to expect the worst of things, it doesn't actually happen,
yeah. Oh yeah.
right? It
Mm-hmm.
actually subverts your expectations that this is a dark film. No, it's not. But then you go to
No,
the internet and everything
it
actually
has elements,
changes.
right? It has little moments of like kind of horror to a degree, somewhat.
Yeah.
When
But
they're
then
when
you
they're
go to the
see the
internet.
the dust bunny things for the first time.
Yeah, and then you go to the internet and you see everyone's theory regarding the movie on how dark it
Yeah.
is. Like regarding the tree being a nuclear explosion.
What? I don't know
That
about this.
it looks like a mushroom cloud from afar. Like everyone is actually
Yeah.
correlating it to what happens after a nuclear explosion. Like the
Interesting.
life after it.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Like the internet is a fucked up place.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why this is my number two. It's basically just the mundaneness of life actually entertaining you.
I mean, hey, Totoro is such a good movie. Again, it was almost on my list. I almost put it, but I think
And another
the
one of
fact
the
that it's like
films
a
that
slice of life.
actually, yeah, another one of the films that my kids can actually watch without actually understanding anything. Even if I turn the sound off, they're
Yeah,
entertained through and through. Like it's a
for
rare
sure.
thing to entertain kids without any
Yeah,
sound. So that is my number two. My Neighbor Totoro. I know it's basic, it's a mascot, but it's my introduction to this studio and why I stuck
it's
with
good.
it.
Yeah, it's good. It's a terrific movie.
So your number two is
That was my number. Porco Rosso.
oh Pokoroso. So your
My
number
number
one
one.
is
My number one.
yeah.
Can you guess it?
Mm, House Moving Castle?
Nope. It's a good one. It's a good one though. I like Howl's Moving Castle, but
What the hell? I
nah, I'll
know it.
just say it.
Okay,
Ready? Kiki's
go.
Delivery Service.
You're gonna have to explain to me why.
What? You don't like it?
I like Kiki's Delivery Service, by the way, but it wasn't. It's not in my top five.
All right. So it speaks to me in a lot of ways. One, because I'm from the South. Like I was born in North Carolina, and I moved to New Jersey when I was like 8 years old. Kind of similar to how Kiki kind of experienced her life, right? Like she, I think, what, at the age of 16 or something. I forget
Yeah,
exactly the premise, but she becomes a witch at the age of 16, moves out. She has to go on her own. She gets her broom, and then that's it. She has to kind of spread her wings. And what does she do? She goes to the big city and becomes a delivery. Kind of like accidentally. It's not even like that's what she wanted to do. It was like accidentally she becomes this like really great delivery person in the big city. And though
it's in a
that's not really
bakery,
my
right?
story, like it,
She works in a
to a
bakery,
degree, I
right?
can connect to it. What?
She works in a bakery, right?
Yes, but she delivers for them.
Yeah,
She delivers like bread, I think, right? Or whatever, like bakery stuff to people. So yeah, that movie is just so heartfelt and very meaningful. And it's also like trying to discover what is your like purpose. Like you're not really you're not really a nobody, I guess, in the city, in the big city. You can make a name for yourself if you try really hard and improve yourself. That's kind of what Kiki's message is, in a sense. Like don't be afraid to be yourself. Don't be afraid to kind of branch out. There's a lot of points in the movie where there's this guy that's trying to talk to her and she's just like super shy and not about it. But eventually she, opens up and meets new people and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. Beautiful movie. It's such a beautiful movie. And very underrated, clearly. Very underrated. A lot of people are like, Keith, what the fuck? Trust me. Trust me. The movie's so good. Yeah, maybe it's just for me. I don't know.
yeah. My daughter loves that. Yeah,
Yeah.
loves Kiki's Delivery Service.
Yeah. It's a great
Now
movie.
my
Great movie.
my number one.
Yeah, let's
You're gonna,
hear
you want to guess?
it. Probably. And you said probably Howl's Moving Castle.
No.
Um, Trying to think of the other movies. Like, what are the other movies that are good? I don't even know. I don't. It's not a. I guess it's not a Miyazaki. Is it Nausicaa?
Yeah, my number one Ghibli film is the only movie that I actually just watched once and not gonna watch again. It's Grave of
Oh,
the
it's great, isn't it?
Fireflies.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
I haven't seen it yet, and I haven't seen it because I know how depressing it is.
yeah, talk about being depressed.
Is it bad in that sense? Like it's very sad.
Like the movie actually spoke to me because yeah, because of my heritage. Like my mom usually and because I remember my mom because of this film. Like
Yeah,
growing up, my mom actually mentions a lot of World War II stories regarding the Japanese occupation here in my country, like the issues regarding it, the hardships that we had with the Japanese. But this movie gave me another perspective that on that other side, they're actually suffering themselves
yeah,
during the
yeah.
war. Like this is
Yep.
what people there are actually going through, and these are the lives that are lost. Like that's what's most depressing about this film is there are times that our hope is actually given to them, but it's actually taken away immediately by the
Yeah,
author. It takes guts to actually do that, especially for a film about kids.
yeah. I noticed
Like
that it's I don't know. Everyone I've talked to that's seen it has said that it is super depressing. Um,
like I think this is the only Studio Ghibli film that's not on Netflix. If
really,
you think about it, I know there's a lot of them, but this is a popular film that they don't have on Netflix, and
yeah,
I don't think it's on the kids section.
That's crazy.
So
Hmm.
it actually being my number one is actually has more meaning to me because it offers me a bit more perspective. Like I could feel another way when it comes to what happens in history. But if you look at it from their eyes, it actually feels much more similar
Hmm.
because being kids, being divorced from anything like me, just being myself, I don't know the intentions of people why this happened in history.
Yeah.
Like it never actually affected me in any way, whether their intentions are actually good or not,
Yeah.
but it still affected where I am. And the same thing could be said for them.
For
So
sure. Yeah.
watching
It's
through the lens of these two kids on how they're going to be enduring what the decision of other people
mhm.
created for them is actually it's pretty powerful.
It's interesting. I read a book called Pure Invention about Japanese innovations
Yeah.
after World War II, essentially, or maybe yeah, I think a lot of it was after World War II. But one of the points in the book, they talk about how a lot of these places, like in Nagasaki,
Yeah.
like a lot of their buildings were made almost out of paper. So like you nuke that, and like even the people that were outside of the exclusion zone were still like not people, like guys, buildings. Like a lot of these
Yeah.
buildings were just like
It's
decimated, like just fucked. Like you know what I mean? Like cooked, like literally cooked. Like I don't want to laugh, but cooked. Like they were fucking cooked.
yeah, if
And
it's
it's
built out
crazy
of paper,
how that event, how like I don't want to call it a singular event. There was two bombs, but how
yeah.
those events led to a lot of like Japanese innovation, led to a lot of Japanese just inspiration. A lot of the what's fuck, I can't think, the robot boy, the anime, like one of the
Astro
first
Boy.
animes ever made. Like had a lot of that
Yeah,
baked
Astro
into it.
Boy. A majority of
Astro
I
Boy,
think
thank you.
the way that the Japanese people actually cope with what happened during the war was actually through their art
Creativity.
form and
Yeah.
their technology, their creativity.
Yep.
Like a
Yep.
lot of them are just actually coping mechanisms for what happened to them
Yeah.
after the bombs were dropped,
Yeah.
right? Like it's kind of a and what happened to them is actually a bit of a lesson for the entire world on what could happen if you use these bombs, right? Because
Yeah.
this was the first
It's
time people actually saw something this
yeah.
destructive.
I think a lot of there's a couple Ghibli movies that pertain to that in a way. I mean, a lot of them, involve war, battles,
Yeah,
and fighting.
I think a
But
majority of the Ghibli films actually delve in war.
yeah, yeah.
A common theme for them.
I could be wrong, but I think Nausicaa is about essentially like protecting the world essentially, or protecting nature
Yeah,
from these. Well, actually, Princess Mononoke too even has that same mentality in it. Not necessarily about like war, but about protecting nature, protecting the planet from devastations like nuclear bombs and stuff. A lot of that's baked into a lot of these movies.
is Porco Rosso the same?
What?
Based on the same settings of war? I kind of
I don't know if
figured
there's a
sometimes.
war going on. I don't remember. I don't think there's a war going on. More so, it's just everyone flies essentially. Everyone's like a kind of a pilot, or to some degree. I don't remember. Actually, there might have been, and that's why Porco is always on the run, because Italy
Yeah,
was trying to get him into the war. Essentially, they want, and he was
he
just he
he doesn't
didn't want
want any of
anything.
this.
He wanted, yeah, he didn't want nothing to do with it. I could be wrong. Again,
So
it's been a
basically,
while
he's
since I've
just
seen that
George
movie, but
Bush.
what?
Basically, he's just George Bush
Yeah, yeah.
draft dodging. George Bush as Porco Rosso. Perfect
No, I can't
casting.
see that.
No,
I can't see that.
still Keaton. So that's my number one and why it has meaning to me. Like I pass on a lot of Miyazaki ones, and I'm sorry for the Miyazaki fans that it's not a Miyazaki film that's on my number one,
I mean, neither of
but
us
it
said
goes to
Howl's
show
Moving
how
Castle.
powerful. Yeah, it goes to show how powerful the production of Ghibli is, right? Because everything is
Well,
based on their qualities.
I
They're not on their caliber of Miyazaki. They're
yeah,
not
but
gonna be
there's
producing.
it's kind of sad to me that a lot of these directors that works, in Ghibli aren't as held to the same acclaim or esteem as Miyazaki is. It's sad because like imagine like a budding director coming into Ghibli, wanting to make a name for yourself and being overshadowed by this guy, who's been doing it's just like it's a little sad to me because it's like a lot of these guys probably, especially if Miyazaki is either producer or something on set or something,
Yeah,
right? Having a say in everything you do too, like there's a lot of checks and balances. There's a great movie on HBO Max or Max, whatever the fuck, documentary essentially about Miyazaki, and it's like a homemade almost. It feels homeadey. Let's see if I can go find it. I forget what it was called. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna have to like sign in and shit probably, but yeah.
I think we should. One of these days, we should dedicate one episode to the other directors of the Ghibli
Yeah, I
studio and
mean,
just look at their body of work.
that's what I'm saying. Like, it's just like a lot of this stuff gets kind of pushed. I think this was it. I think this was Never Ending Man, How Miyazaki. I think that's what I watched.
Yeah,
I think that's what I watched, but watch that on HBO. It's only an hour, 10 minutes. It's only an hour and 10 minutes, but it gets you into the mind of Miyazaki a lot. And there's a couple scenes where he's like looking over work that like these artists are doing. He's like, it's like that's shit. That's shit. Let me do it. I'm doing it now. It's like not necessarily like being mean, but just
yeah.
it's that Japanese mentality of like almost perfectionism, almost like I'll do okay. The Thanos theme. Fine, I'll do it myself. Like Miyazaki is so much of a creative that he can't kind of can't let go. Like
I think it's
it's
kind
it's
of
his
like
baby. And he
muscle
just
memory for him
yeah,
when we're looking
yeah.
at the screen and like
Again, and
I'm
this is a
joking
guy
about the
who's
tropes
given
and
up.
all, but I think it's part of his actually signature.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is a guy who's retired multiple times, and he keeps getting dragged back in. Keeps getting
Came
dragged
back
back
because
in.
of isekai. Came back because of isekai and trashy rom-coms.
All right, wait. So are we doing
You're number one. You still haven't mentioned it.
yeah, I did. What do you mean?
Oh, you did. I forgot about
Yeah,
it.
no, because remember we have the same fourth. That's why things got messed up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We had the same fourth, but was it
Yeah, so that's my number one.
honorable
Brave.
mentions?
Yeah,
Honorable
honorable
mentions.
mentions.
I've already brought it up, but Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind is so good. It has a long ass title. Not that that's a
Yeah, I would
problem
also
anymore.
recommend it.
So good, and it's old, so it's another old one. I think it's from the 80s. I don't have it. It doesn't say the date, but yeah, it came out in like 1980 something, 1986. Great
And for
movie, but
me to
it's old.
actually one to for me, I haven't watched it yet. I think I'm gonna add it to my watch list. It's actually the Tale of Princess Kaguya. It's not a Miyazaki
Mm.
thing, but I think I'm gonna want to watch the ones that
Yeah,
Miyazaki
this
hasn't
one
been
looks like
involved in.
a painting put to life. Like
Yeah,
what's the other movie? It's very old and it's melodrama Japanese movie. What's no
so
no
just a
fuck.
recap, my top five is my number five is Ponyo, number four is Princess Mononoke, number three is Spirited Away, number two, My Neighbor Totoro, and my number one is the very happy story of Grave of the Fireflies,
Very happy.
full of butterflies and rainbows.
What was the movie you were talking about? Princess Kaguya.
Yeah, Princess
Right.
Kaguya.
That one reminds me a lot of Belladonna of Sadness. It's a 1973 Japanese anime, and it's like that movie Belladonna of Sadness is like watercolors brought to life.
Like
You know?
when I hear Princess Kaguya, I immediately just remember Naruto.
Yeah, yeah.
It's spoiler alert.
All right,
So
wait. So my
you're
list was
yeah.
number one was Kiki's Delivery Service. Number two was Porco Rosso. Number three was Castles in the Sky. Number four was Princess Mononoke, and number five was The Wind Rises. So I feel like that's more tentative. Like my number five could be like Totoro. It could be like how do you measure that? How do you measure? You know what I mean? Like it took me a little bit to finally just pick The Wind Rises just because of its music and art
It's
style. It's so good.
yeah, it's hard to measure art. Like it's hard to rank them if you think about it. But
Yeah,
I only did my top five based on the impact in my life, like based on
exactly.
the value that I placed it on how
I
much
mean,
they
Porco
actually
Rosso. I hadn't seen Porco Rosso until like late last year, like December. I've only
yeah.
seen Porco Rosso relatively recently. You know,
Yeah, to our audience, please put your top five Ghibli
yeah,
in the comment section. Ghibli films. Like we'd love to know what you guys are actually interested in. And again, we apologize if you don't agree with our top five, but it's our top five. So
yeah. I don't care, dude. Kiki came out in 1989. What?
yeah, it
I
is
didn't know
that
that.
long, right?
Damn,
I think I was
damn.
6 back then,
That's crazy.
right? And another thing about these Ghibli films, the art style ages well.
Yeah.
It never felt
Except I
outdated.
think the only one that doesn't actually hold up is Nausicaa. Like, not that it's not, like the art is great. It's just that it's like you can, it has its age. It shows its age, right? Whereas like Kiki, like again, I had no idea. Kiki came out in 89. Like it looks like a movie that came out in the early 2000s. Um,
Yeah, same
but
here. If
Nausicaa,
I
you can
look
kind of
at it,
tell. You can kind of tell the art's a little dated and stuff, or the animation. I mean,
yeah, and the coloration of it actually is pretty old. Like really, they got Patrick Stewart to actually voice this.
yeah, no, it's crazy that they
When
get
it
some of
was
the
actually
best actors on the planet.
bought, was this the rights for Nausicaa bought by Disney?
Uh,
Yeah, I
you're
think
asking the wrong
so.
person. I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, it was bought by Disney, I think in 2005.
For Nausicaa,
Yeah, they redubbed it with new actors. Like they
what?
got Patrick Stewart and Shia LaBeouf and Uma Thurman to actually voice the characters. Mark Hamill, actually.
I think that's the one I watched. I mean, if it's the English one,
Yeah,
and
it
again,
is.
that's probably one of the first ones. Yeah, 1986. That's probably one of the first Ghibli movies to gain any recognition, at least in the West, for sure. And it was probably Miyazaki's first one at the studio. Beyond just like shorts, he probably did like shorts and stuff, but I
So
think Miyazaki wrote the manga. Nausicaa manga. I think that's his like manga. Like he wrote that.
one of these days, I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
track down the posters of these
It's
Miyazaki
a
films and have them
Nausicaa the
framed.
Valley of the Wind is a Japanese manga series written and illustrated by Hayao Miyazaki. Kind of cool actually. Like you have to wonder, did he start as a manga artist and writer? Like did he want to be a mangaka? And then he became one of like the best animation directors on the planet. Kind of cool. I don't know. Ghibli, man.
Yeah, but for the time, the animation is actually pretty advanced when Nausicaa
Yeah.
actually came out, right? It does show its age, but not that much if you think about it.
Yeah. No.
I still feel that it's actually pretty ahead of its time back then. So, yeah, thank you for joining us for this episode of Made in Japan, and I hope you enjoyed our discussion regarding our top five. Uh, if you want more of this kind of content, please mention it in the comment section. And if you have suggestions of other things that you want us to discuss, please also state it there. Again, thank you for joining us. I'm Christian with Ryan, and we hope to see you again next week for another episode of Made in Japan.
Hell yeah.